Welcome to another edition of our Beginner's Guide to Web Development. I'm your teacher, Samad Kenton. Now, it's been a long time coming since we last updated a video, but hopefully we should kick off the new year with our first video. Today's session, we are going to look at a case scenario where we will leverage the browser's local storage to store product information. That's basically, we are going to perform CRUD operations, that's create, read, update and delete data using our browser's local storage. Now to look at the the project files here, I'll just toggle the pane here. Now we have three files, that's index, script and style.css. Now these are our three project files, with the index being the boilerplate or the markup. This style.css is our design file, and the script is our DOM manipulation file that we use to manipulate objects or the DOM. Is that okay? Now let me just briefly walk you through, as I've already typed in all the code here. Now I'm going to explain what each code does. Is okay? Each line of code does, so you will need to pay rapt attention. Okay, so inside of our body we have a container, and then we have a nested form. Yes, we have a form here, and the form is the element that contains our text inputs. That's the product name, the quantity, cost price and selling price, as we have here with their IDs. We've given them IDs and a placeholder to tell the user what to type into these controls. Okay, so we've just aligned these three controls, that's the quantity, price and selling price, horizontally. So they have also been embodied in a class, what's the name, in a row class. Is that okay? Yeah, so that's just that breaks the line from the form element. Is that okay? So what I mean by it breaks the line is, instead of it flowing down this way, after the product name we introduce another container, that's a nested container, to hold these three controls, and that's giving us this horizontal alignment. Then beneath them we have this form, but what's the name, buttons, that's the submit and the cancel button. And the cancel button is used to cancel a delete operation. Is that okay? And the save here just basically submits the form as you would have in a server, but in our case we are not using any database server, we are just persisting the data on our browser. Now after the form element we have our output, and the output consists of this area down. Yes, that's the output. Now this is basically where we'll display our data. Is that okay? And we have a search to search through the data that we have stored in our local storage, and we have an empty, like an element here, a label here that tells the user how many data we've stored so far, and if we would want to empty the data, and that's restarting the whole process from fresh. Okay, so without far ado, let's look at our CSS. Basically we target the container, give it a weight of 600 pixels and align it to the middle. Is that okay? By using this margin 0 to, and setting our text align to right of our form element. That's how come we have these buttons aligned to the right hand side. And we have the input, we target all inputs, give them a maximum height of 100% and a little padding vertically and horizontally via 10 pixels and 5 pixels respectively. And we target the form group, our row, and all these are explicitly defined in our markup file, that's our index.html file. We have the container, we target the form, and we target these input controls, also we target these buttons, and I think this row here by displaying it flex or grid. Is okay? We use the CSS grid property and define 3 columns. Is okay? That's how can we have column 1, column 2, column 3, right? We're giving it a gap of 10 pixels. So, and these are the styles that are responsible for our appearance of our buttons here, the table here as well as the these buttons here will be shown after we've created our first record. is okay, and the output certainly is also here in the search. Now that's all for the styles. Now let's look at the script. That's our DOM manipulation file. We basically target our DOM elements here and apportion them to variables. Is okay. So these basically are variables that refer to these elements that we have in our browser or on our web page here. Now let's look at, we have a couple of methods that we have defined to make it easy for us to call throughout the code, in any part of the code. So let's basically let's just look at the first method here. The first method here is to reset the form or save product. So let me just move this thing here so that this becomes our first method. I'm basically going to move this here. Yes, so that we have this as our first method. That's the save product. So basically we are checking if our data variable has any objects in it, else assign an empty array, and that is what this line of code does. And I'm happy to say that this code has been properly commented. So each line of code has a comment on top of it that explains what the line of code does. Is that okay? So that's to facilitate easy understanding of the code after I have uploaded it. Is that okay? Or after you've cloned it from my GitHub repo. So now this condition here checks to see if we already have the title, that's whatever you type here, the product name, as part of our data object. Is that okay? Do we have, so for example, if you type an item like sardine, and it's going to check in our form data object to see if we already have sardine in it. So if it does, then you will prompt product already exists, and if it doesn't, whereas it doesn't, you just create a new object. Is that okay? And append it. So this is we are just leveraging the spread syntax, spread operator. Is that okay? You could have written this as data.push, data.push, and then we'll spread the object. Is that okay? So this works the same. Now I'm going to comment this, or better still, let me take it off so that it doesn't cause some distraction, so that we will just be consistent with one. So we are using the spread syntax, and we are spreading this object, or we are appending this object to our data that we have already asserted above. And after we've appended our object to our data, then we will need to write it to our local storage by this key product. Is that okay? So whenever we call localstorage.get item and pass in products, it means that we want to call our object that has been stored in our local storage called products. And this is also another method that is used to display the data beneath or inside this table here. So that's just that for the first method. Now the second method is a reset form. That basically just resets the form to default and clear any entries that we've made. Is that okay? Or if we try to update and we click on cancel, it is also going to call this reset form. We'll look at that method very shortly. And we are leveraging the reset method or reset object of the form class. And we have also what's the name? We've also applied some styling to our button submit. That's changing or toggling the background property and the text content. Is that okay? That's the text that shows here. So basically I have to show you an example of how this works. So for example, I create the first item as sardine, give it a quantity of 100, cost price of 2 cedis, 50 pesos, and a selling price of 4 Ghana cedis. I'm in Ghana, so that's why I happen to use our currency. So you can see that we've created our first record here. Let's go on and add 2 more items. So you can have sugar. Is okay, sugar, and then we can have 15 boxes or 15 pieces. We have cost price 2 cedis, selling price of 3 cedis. We can create another item. We can call it say mackerel, give it a quantity of 50, cost price of 4 cedis, selling price of 7 cedis, 50 pesos. Okay, so we have 3 items now, and that is made possible via this function or this method here. So whenever we fill in this form here and hit on save, we call this function here, and that is seen when we introduce or attach it to the form tag. Is that okay? Form element. We just call this attach this event listener, that's the submit event, to the form element. Is that okay? So by default we just prevent the default browser behavior. That's when you click on the submit, it is going to post it to a target URL. That's how the browsers generally work, but we use JavaScript to prevent that behavior, and it will allow us to assert if we are creating a new record or we are updating. So how do we assert, or how do we check for that condition? We check to see that whenever we click on this edit button and we preview this line of what's in this product details here, we also introduce an attribute called data ID, and we pass in the ID of this product. Is okay? So that we can use it to, that will serve as a key or a common record that we can use to tell the system that okay, we want to update only this we are targeting this product and not sugar or mackerel. Is that okay? So this cancel here, should I click on the cancel, you can see it will reset everything back to default and empty our form controls. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and look at the other functions or methods. So the fetch products method, as is self-explanatory, is responsible for displaying these records that we have here, our products. So first of all, we'll clear our table footer and table body. The body here holds the record, and the footer just basically is a placeholder for telling users that they have data or they do not have data. Is that okay? So let me just test this out. As you can see, so this is the table footer showing us this label here and not the table body. So you can see us testing or converting our JSON string back to a JSON object. Is that okay? By using the JSON.parse method. Is that okay? And we are portioning it or assign it to data again, and here we are. This is just a label, and this is this span here is responsible for keeping track of the total number of products that we have in our form object. Is that right? Okay, so we move. Now we again introduce a condition here to check if our data is not null. That's we've clicked on this button. Click on this button will remove the key that we are using to persist our form object, is okay, or our products in our local storage. Remember above when we're creating it, we used a key called localstorage.set item product. So this is the key. So this is like a common name that we can use to retrieve data from our local storage. Is okay? Yeah. So back to our fetch products method. After checking the condition, if we have some data inside, we look through by using the map method. We are going to look through each product and display the title, quantity in the table row of table data of table rows, and that's why we have these records here. So let me go back. Sardine, we have a quantity of 40 boxes, 2 CDs, 50 pesos, and we are selling it for 4 Ghana cedis. And then we have ideal milk also. Let me space this out. Wow. And we have a quantity of say 15 boxes or 15, and cost 4 CDs, selling for 5 CDs. And we have mackerel, 50 boxes, 8 CDs and 11 CDs, 50 pesos. Sorry, so this is a mistake. This is a typo here. So the edit button here, as we would have, will help us to correct this. So this is supposed to be 11 CDs, 50 pesos. So the moment I hit on update, you can see that the data has changed. We've made the correction, and that's made possible via calling the update method. Okay, so since we are done with the fetch products method, which just displays the data to the user, we'll look at whenever we click on this edit button, we call preview update. So preview update just means that fetch this row of data, that's a product, and fill in into their corresponding text boxes. So title.value, and remember these variables here were defined above. Is that okay? So these variables have been defined here, and that corresponds to the text inputs that are in our DOM. Is that okay? Yeah. So we just set the data, what's the name? the data that corresponds to the text input. Yeah, and again we toggle the background and text properties of our button submit. So by default it is blue with a text content of save. Should we click any of these buttons, then you will see this has a green to tell you that you are about to do an update. Is okay. So if you want to recede or abort, then you click on cancel to abort it, to terminate. Okay, so that's fine. And you can see, as we have here, we are setting the data attribute using the set attribute. Is that okay? I'm going to set this attribute for this button submit, and then we pass in the I. The I is like the index of this item. So in our form data object, this is 0, but if we are displaying the data for humans, so that's why we have it as 1, 2, 3 in that numerical order, so that it is in a human readable format. Yeah. So after this method, the next method is the update. This is where actually we write or overwrite the record. So if we click on ideal mark and we realize that there's supposed to be a space here, we do this correction and we hit on update. So it is going to use the same index or the ID of this ideal mark in our form local storage. In our local storage. Is that okay? And override that record with their respective text inputs that we have filled out. So once I'm done, I click on update, and that should overwrite the record. Okay, that's fine. And again, we set or we override our products object again with the new set of data, because we have manipulated the record. And again, we call the fetch product. So this is where functions actually play an important role. It helps you call methods severally across any part of your page. So these fetch records here, I can call it severally in any part of the code. Is that okay? Without me having to anytime I want to display these records after manipulation, then I would have to type this whole code. You understand, embodied in the fetch products method. But if I should enclose it via a function call, that means that I can just call this function in any part of the code, and it creates a carbon copy behind the scenes here. Is okay? So whenever I call fetch product, it just basically clones this data, this code here onto the line of call. Yes, so that's that. The delete product is also self-explanatory. We prompt the user if he or she wants to continue with the delete operation. If yes, you delete. If no, you cancel. So we can test that out. So imagine I want to delete ideal mark. So I click on delete. Are you sure you want to delete? Then I go in for OK. Okay, so the record is being deleted. Okay, now let's come back. Let's go down. We have the search products, and now this is where we actually look to do our data object and find any match that corresponds to our title here. Our text input that we do, our search query. So we are going to leverage several methods here. The map, which we've already looked at above. Now we are going to look at the includes. Now the includes basically allows us to run a search on our data object and return all records that contains is another method, but let me just say that has part of the word. So if I should type MA, so it will basically search through our form data object to return all matches that has MA, all product titles or product names that matches MA. So let's see, EA, okay, D, okay, RE, or fine. So that's just that for the searches. So if it's found, then we go ahead and set the table row property to block to display. Otherwise, if it's not found, then we just display a label to the user that no search results found. Is okay. And this is the clear data. The clear data basically empties our form data object. So if I click on clear data, this is what it's going to do. It has cleared the whole data and allows us to start afresh. So again, we have introduced a prompt here for the user to confirm, and we just call the local storage.clear. Now mind you, local storage.clear just loops through your local storage object and clears every key that you are using to hold or persist data. So it is not generally recommended to use this, but for our case where we are only using one key, which is called products, it is suffice to call this. Otherwise, you have to leverage or use the remove item, and then we can pass in products. You have to make sure that the key corresponds to what you have set when you were creating it. Is that okay? And that's here, yeah, products. Okay, so that's just that for the delete method. And again, we call fetch products to resync. So if we were having a central or writing to a central server, whenever we call fetch product, it is going to make that call to the server. But in our case, we are just persisting it in our browser. So this here we've already talked of is attaching the submit event handler to the form element. Is okay, and the search event too as well. We just call the search products method and pass in the value of our search term, our query, and the cancel button, cancel to event. We call the reset form method and attach it to the button cancel click. Is okay. Whenever a user click on the button cancel, we call this reset form, and that just empties this and also reset this button to its default. That's by way of the color and the text content. And again, the button clear data, which is this, we just call clear data, which we've already looked here. That's by clearing our local storage. Is okay, emptying it and starting afresh. So that's just that for this video. And as you can see, I have carefully typed in, I have used comments before every line of code to help you understand what each line of code does. So if you don't understand anything, just let me know using the comment section under this video. But again, if you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more exciting content, as we've just gotten started. Is that okay? So thanks and see you. Bye bye.